Mattwo story writer here. A bit of a foreword before I get started. As you may have noticed, I still have allergies. Truth be told, I'm not a very patient person. Not that this would be much of a surprise by now. I'm certain that even if my voice was better, the audio quality would still be really bad, and that's something I'm presently incapable of improving. That's why getting a new microphone is a milestone on my Patreon. It benefits you guys more than it would ever benefit me any way I look at it. After all, I've gone this long with crappy mics and even a cell phone at one point, and the audio quality that time was really bad. At present, all I can promise in terms of improving audio quality is to work on my voice acting skills and do more takes. I'm not much of a voice actor and mostly do it out of necessity, as I've been a one-man crew for this long as well, barring a couple of cameos. Now on to the cold opening. Pokemon. If it wasn't the first, it was at least the codifier of the Mon trope, and basically what got the Mon RPG subgenre off the ground. Pitifully, most Mon franchise and spin-offs would have never gotten to the same level of popularity or cultural impact as Pokemon had, with most either struggling in the West or simply dying because 4Kids is run by a bunch of idiots. How they even still have the rights to Yu-Gi-Oh! Is probably because Konami thought they were kindred spirits. And of course, one can't possibly deny the cultural impact Pokemon has had on the world, from parodies to rip-offs to bootleg copies of Telefang to the mass marketing everywhere. Pokemon is, was, and will be for the foreseeable future an unstoppable force of nature, even in spite of Yokai Watch's best attempts in Japan. With the 20th anniversary here, let's go back to the beginning, a simpler time. With no steel, dark, or fairy types, no passive abilities, no wireless training and battling with other people, a time where attack stats weren't separated by physical and special, a time where the game's stories was little more than a series of events that just happened to occur as you would journey toward your goal of becoming a Pokemon Master and beating the Elite Four, a time where video game myths and rumors run rampant, a time even before the anime existed, Pokemon's first generation of video games. Well, I was going to review the first generation games, but then I decided it would probably be easier instead for me to review the first episode of Pokemon Origins, which is an anime that, while skipping over a bit, does nicely summarize the games. The journey begins with an introduction from Professor Oak, a senile old man who is infamous for having forgotten the name of both his grandson and his grandson's closest friend and biggest rival, the player character from the games Red. As for the rival character, I'll just call him Green. I know he's called Blue in the dub, but just look at this guy's shirt. In the official artwork in the American releases, he wore a blue one, but here, he's wearing a green one. Besides, everyone knows that green version exists, and there was no remake of blue version in Generation 3. Of course, in this case, he doesn't ask for any names in the episode, instead decides to go the main anime route by making the battle between Nidorino and Gengar in the intro to Red, Green, and Blue versions a televised event, which Red happens to be watching, and oh. Wow, those rendered 3D graphics aren't blending very well. I mean, it's definitely a step up from the old movies. They're still incredibly conspicuous here, and I know I'm nitpicking, but still. Red's mom tells him that Professor Oak wants Red to go to his lab as soon as possible. Man, that's certainly different than wandering into the wild grass and him seemingly appearing out of nowhere. Red and Green meet outside the lab instead of inside it like in the games, and the two race each other inside, and the professor presents each with a Pokédex. Professor Oak describes the Pokédex as a high-tech encyclopedia. Oh god, it's the Pokemon Wikia before Wiki even existed. Or maybe...
Encyclopedia marketed a lot better than glorified journal.
Science is so amazing!
Hey Red, Ash called. He wants his line back. Oak then gives them each an opportunity to choose a Pokemon. Red chooses Charmander because of why his dad gave his name. Green, on the other hand, chose Squirtle, claiming that he'd never choose a Pokemon for such a ridiculous reason. Even in the dub, this reason is given because water is stronger than fire. Oak then offers them the opportunity to change the nickname of their Pokemon, but Red declines and Green instead challenges Red to a battle, but has a change of heart, claiming he wouldn't want to waste his first battle on a total newbie, and runs off, which again is different from the games because he totally does battle you in the games here. Later in Route 1, Red battles but fails to catch a Pidgey, noticing that the Pokédex's data on it is incomplete, which is definitely different from the anime, but true enough to the games. A Rattata appears and Charmander is somehow able to stop it in its tracks with Growl. Red manages to catch it with ease, catching a Spearow, Caterpie, and Pidgey before getting into a battle with a youngster and then trying to catch his Nidoran, whatever. This isn't the time to use that. The youngster is rightfully offended by this, but tells Red where to catch one anyway. Red arrives outside of Viridian City where Green meets up with him and to start a battle, even though this is not Route 22. As the battle begins, Brock can briefly be seen watching it. Squirtle completely curb stomps Charmander and pulls out a move that would go down in infamy. Holy thousand goddamn shifter, what the fouls? You know, for kids?
Just attack and attack. So predictable.
Wait, isn't that how Pokemon battles are supposed to work in the games? Brock offers some advice to Red, and you might notice he sounds incredibly different in recent episodes of the show, for reasons that I'll get to later.
The strength of a Pokemon is proportional to its trainer's power.
Suddenly Pokemon Go's leveling system makes a lot more sense. Later at the Viridian City Pokemon Center, Oak explains how you can only carry 6 Pokemon around and the more you catch will be automatically sent to the PC. Staying true to the original games, the nurse here is not Nurse Joy. Red arrives in Pewter and goes straight to the museum? Odd choice, but it turns out he didn't even know about the gyms. As it so happens, he didn't even know that Brock was the gym leader. Red heads to the gym and meets Brock again. Upon hearing that Red doesn't have any badges, Brock decides to choose just 2 of his Pokemon, possibly an attempt at explaining why he has more in Gold and Silver. Brock sends out Geodude and Red sends out Charmander, and Charmander is backed against the wall, so Brock explains Pokemon types.
You scratch!
It's not very effective.
Fire-type Pokemon are weak against Rock-type Pokemon.
Wait, hold on. Are they insinuating that's why Tackle, a normal type move, did so much damage? And the only reason that Scratch wasn't very effective is because Rock Ground dual types are resistant to normal type moves. Red sends out Nidoran, which under normal circumstances is weak against ground types, but it actually just so happens to know Double Kick. I'm pretty sure they can only learn when they evolve. I'd have to double check, but how Red knew to use this strategy when he's shown such an aptitude so far is anyone's guess. Brock then sends out his Onix, which managed to use Bite against 2 double kicks. Onix then manages to one-shot Pidgey and Rattata before they even got to attack, but Metapod, who evolved from Caterpie off String, manages to get a String Shot in somehow. The String Shot managed to be the decisive factor in Red's victory. Charmander uses Scratch again, while Onix uses Tackle, giving Red the win due to Charmander's attack being faster. And so Red gets the Boulder Badge and TM34, which contains Bite from Brock, and Brock explains to the gym trainers why he accepted Red's challenge, and Oak tells one of his aides why he gave Red the Pokédex, thus ending the first episode. Who's that on? It's Doc. Wait, what? Well, for the last time, I am a Timon from the planet Pokefray, not a Pokemon. Also, is this seriously the only appearance I'm going to make in this review? So, as I alluded to earlier, quite clearly not Bill Rogers voicing Brock here. See, instead of the Pokemon Company International handling the dub like they've been doing for a while now, it was instead done by SDI Media Group, whose American branch I can't find much information on, but it did lead to a fairly star-studded cast, including Johnny Yun Bosch as Brock, Cal Herbey as Professor Oak, Bryce Austin Paperbrook as Red, Lucian Dodge as Blue, Laura Post as Red's mother, which is hilarious considering she's had roles like Arfory from the Neptunia franchise and Queen Asharzia in World of Warcraft, Dorothy Elias Fawn as the nurse in this episode, and Christina V as Red's Nidoran and the nurse in the next episode. Now, you may have already been aware of this, but among some of the other shared projects these voice actors have worked on, most of the cast for Pokemon Origins quite ironically have roles in the Digimon franchise. Weird, isn't it? As far as I'm aware, none of them, aside from Lucian, had any roles in the Pokemon International dub of Pokemon's anime as well. Additionally, while Oriental Light and Magic still handled part of the animation, they were joined by Production IG and, quite hilariously, X-Spec, who were responsible for animating the Mega Man and T-Warrior anime, both of whom were also responsible for animating Pokemon the Movie Black and Pokemon the Movie White. So, anyway, Pokemon Origins was clearly designed as a love letter to the fans of the original games, from the rescored music tracks to the visuals designed after the games. It's an all-around enjoyable and nostalgic experience. I give Pokemon Origins Episode 1 a 4 out of 5. Until next time, gotta catch 'em all. That fool has no idea what's coming to him, but maybe that's because that idea is missing! Who is this mysterious creature lurking in the shadows? Will he be revealed before the current plotline finally resolves? Find out as the journey continues. Yeah, so I decided to keep doing these in-card things, mostly as a middle finger to a certain someone. So yeah, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, click on these other videos that will probably be related to this one in some way.